Hey there, Fletcher All Things Overlanding here, and today I wanted to talk to you about these Dyness 100 amp hour batteries that I just picked up to add to my existing house battery in the truck. So currently I've got 200 amp hours, but I've picked up a 320 amp hour mini battery that I'm planning to replace that 200 amp hour with to increase my capacity. There are a couple reasons for that I'll get into further in the video, but in addition to that, I picked up two of these Dyness 100 amp hour batteries because you can get two of these for $360. So they're very inexpensive for what you get. They're also super light, and there are a ton of other nice features about them. So I'm going to walk you through these things, give you all the information about them. If you are looking for an inexpensive option to increase the capacity for, say, a dual battery setup in an overlanding vehicle, then you should get some good info from this, and you'll learn everything you want to know about these Dyness batteries. So if you want to learn more about these, stay tuned.
Understand where it came from, but you got it, my got it. It began in the land of the sandstorm. I fought it, though I wanted everything to do with what you gave to me. Loosening my grip.
All right, guys, so as I mentioned in the intro today, I'm talking about these Dyness 100 amp hour batteries. So let's just kind of start with specs. I will throw the dimensions up here on screen. So these are not quite mini batteries, but they are pretty small size. So like if you put two of these together and say in the bed of a truck, they're not going to take up a ton of room. And you've got 200 amp hours right there in that small package. And you can link these things up either in parallel or in series and have a ton of ways to get power for your rooftop tent, for charging AC devices if you have an inverter, that kind of thing. So that's kind of my plan with this is I want to add these on top of my 320 amp hour other battery that I've got to give me a total of 520 amp hours. Now I know that sounds like a lot, but the reason that I want that kind of capacity is I have an e-bike and I want to be able to charge it. And that thing pulls a ton of power. I'm also going to be adding a 3000 watt inverter to my setup. And when I do that, I'll be able to charge, drone batteries and the batteries for my chainsaw and things like that. And when you throw in the e-bike, that's a lot of power consumption. So I just want a ton of capacity so that I can charge pretty much anything and I don't have to worry about it. I want to be able to go off grid for 2 weeks at a time and not have to worry about running out of power. So one thing to keep in mind is when you look at power banks, they're generally shown in watt hours. So, there are a lot of 500 watt hour power banks. There are a lot of 1000 watt hour power banks, and then maybe 1500 watt hour power banks. Each of these 100 amp hour batteries is basically the equivalent of a 1280 watt hour power bank. So, between 1000 and a 1500 watt hour power bank is what each of these batteries is. So by combining these two, I've got over 2500 watt hours of power, which is a really big power bank, right? Like that is a huge and would be a very expensive power bank. If you were going to buy a power bank of that size, it's probably going to be $700 to $1,000. But with these simple Dyness batteries, you can get, basically 2,500 watt hours worth of capacity for just $360. These things are a pretty budget price, which is really nice. They do have Bluetooth built into them, so you can look at them on an app. I forgot to download that before I came, so I can't show you that, but they do have an app for it. You can scan the QR code on there, and then you can, that will tell you what the state of charge is on your battery. You can see things like the health of the battery, the state of charge of the battery. If you are wondering about charging these, if you're just going to keep these and say, take one out on a trip. I've had a lot of people ask this question. They say, I want to take one out on a trip with me, and then I want to charge it. How do I do that if I'm just like, throwing this thing out on the ground and then say attaching your fridge to it with the 12 volt plugs, like a positive and a negative? I just use a battery tender when I get home. So the thing that you would throw on your car if it's sitting for a while, just a cheap battery tender, I can put a link in the description down below to it, can be put on this with the positive and the negative alligator clips and then plugged into a wall, and you can just charge it up that way. And then with the app, you can check the state of charge to see when you get to 100%, and then you can take this thing out. On a single 100 amp hour battery, I've been able to run a fridge. Now this is in winter, so the fridge doesn't run very much, but I've been able to run my IceCo fridge and also a diesel heater for like 3 nights and 3 days and been at like 60 or 70% on a 100 amp hour battery. So if that gives you an idea of how much you can run off these things, 100 amp hours is actually quite a bit of power, which is why 520 is going to be a little crazy, but I'm excited about it. So aside from that, this thing will go, as far as like longevity goes, these things will go for about 4,000 plus charges, which equals about 10 years of normal use. Because they're LiFePO 4, they're much lighter and much smaller than like a comparable AGM option. The AGM batteries are more efficient than like a standard starter battery as far as capacity and holding power, but you can only discharge them, I think, about 60%. With these, you can actually discharge them down to about 95%. So you actually get to use the vast majority of the power that are in these things when you are using them. It also has built-in, of course, protections and everything. So if it's cold outside, it's not going to allow the battery to charge in a way that would harm it because it's too cold for the batteries to take a charge. So it's going to automatically regulate that. And it's got a 100 amp built-in BMS, or battery management system. So again, this thing is going to let you pretty much power everything. That's what I like about these raw batteries like this, is I can just hook up a diesel heater. Like my diesel heater has a positive and a negative eye bolt on it, and these have these little sort of bolts on them, so you can just take this bolt off, put your diesel heater on here, and then hook it into your diesel heater, and you can pretty much run anything. Whereas with power banks, you know, because of the limitations and built-in battery management systems that they've got, a lot of the times they won't run a diesel heater because it exceeds the maximum power output that the battery can do. But with these, you don't have to worry about that, which is really nice. Another thing that I really like is they do not have like external handles. So some of the batteries I've had have these things that stick out on the side, and it makes them longer, it makes them harder to fit. These things are very rectangular, which is nice, and these handles are built into the top instead of the side, so that makes it a lot easier to lift. And I like that it's this big strap instead of, you know, some of my batteries that I've had like hooks on the side, so you have to basically carry it two-handed. With it, you can carry it one-handed, and you can carry one in each hand. So again, if you are looking at this as an option to grab out of your truck, hook up a diesel heater, and maybe set it, you know, on the ground down here next to your diesel heater to run it, this would be a great option for that. One more thing to mention is these things are also, and I'll put the rating up here on screen because I don't remember exactly what it is, but dust and waterproof. So if they were exposed, I wouldn't recommend it. I would probably throw them, like what I've done in my truck is back in the backpack there, I've got a plastic crate. If you see that black crate next to the propane tank back there, I keep my batteries in there. It's not 100% dust proof or 100% waterproof, which is why it's nice that these things are also really resistant to water and dust. All right, guys, so as you saw, these things are pretty great for the money. So there are a ton of options out there. These guys have been around for a little while, so there are plenty to choose from. So I just wanted to give you guys all the info about these so you could tell if these are right for you. Now, of course, there will be a link in the description down below. So if you're interested in them, click on that to go find more information about them and possibly pick up some for yourself. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, make sure to drop those down below. Also below this video is a join button, which is just sort of a passive way to support the channel, get you early access to the videos and the podcast that I do. So if that sounds good, check out the join button. Or if you want to be more involved with all things overlanding, there's also a link to my Patreon page. Now, this is an awesome group of people. We've got over 20 in the group now, and we chat in Discord 24/7. We do a once-a-month Zoom call, and we're getting together a couple times a year, and the 2 trips we've done in 2025 were a ton of fun, with more to come in 2026. So if that sounds good, click through the Patreon link. There's also a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, things like "Don't burn your wiener and it's a hot dog," or "I hate people so I camp." So if any of that sounds good, or if you're into patches and stickers, definitely check those out. They're awesome, high quality stuff, and they're really inexpensive, so check those out. And then last but not least, there's also a link to the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. Now, this group is totally free to join, has tons of awesome members, but unlike a lot of the big overlanding groups, there's no bullying. We don't really allow bullying. There's no self-promotion, that kind of thing. So it's just a good place to learn, to help others, and to try and help people grow in the hobby of overlanding. So if that sounds good, check out Newbie Overlanders. But again, hopefully that info on the Dyness batteries was helpful for you. If it was, click that like button. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, make sure to click the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when new videos drop, because I do a couple every week, and I'd love to have you as a subscriber. So thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.